Hello everyone, welcome to the latest edition of CX Conversations. I'm Matt Simpson, Managing Director of Candyspace, and today we are talking e-commerce and specifically replatforming. And I have with me Candyspace's very own Director of E-commerce, Tim McMillen. Welcome, Tim.
Hi, Matt.
Why don't you just tell us a little bit before we start about your experience in e-commerce?
Sure. Yeah, I was really lucky. I was one of the pioneers of e-commerce here in the UK. I worked for B&Q back in 1999 when they were experimenting with online ordering and things like that. And we built DIY.com. And over the 4 years that I was there, it became one of the most successful kind of retail e-commerce sites in the UK. And after B&Q, I stayed really interested in e-commerce. I did lots of work for independent consultancies and retail businesses before I started my own agency in about 2007. And a lot of the work that I've been doing over the last kind of 20 years since starting that business has been within e-commerce, and one of the reasons I think why Candyspace acquired my agency last year.
Absolutely. I use DIY.com a lot, and there's a whole series of catastrophic mistakes across my house as a result of that, but a great platform. So let's get straight into it. Why might a business consider replatforming in the first place?
Usually comes down to two or three main things. So first of all, out of date or uncompatible customer experiences. The experiences that you designed 3 or 4 years ago are no longer the types of experiences that customers expect or are seeing in other places. Secondly, it can often be a cost of ownership thing. It takes a lot of money to keep an old legacy system alive and breathing, and businesses quite often want to spend that investment on new features and new ideas to drive more value for customers rather than just keeping the lights on. And I think thirdly, it's about innovation, not being able to innovate fast enough. The technical philosophies have changed a lot over the last 5 to 10 years, and you can quite often find yourself stuck on a platform which is hard to innovate, long lead times for any kind of like new features or anything like that. And therefore you want to unlock that kind of speed to market to stay competitive and also to continue to impress your customers with new ideas.
And I guess the pace of change and the advances in the technology and the sophistication and the implementation of new AI features into those platforms makes that even more pertinent now.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a good time to start thinking about replatforming because everyone's got their eyes on the future and what it might be. And I think when you are interrogating platforms and looking for new technologies, you've got to have a real clear idea of what the platform's vision are for things like AI in the future, how it's going to help you both from a customer perspective, but also operationally.
Absolutely. So let's say a business is considering replatforming. What are the things that are most important to evaluate?
I'd say the first thing you need to do is reset the view of your understanding of the customer. So how far away from the best experience from your customers are you with the technology that you've got currently? Once you understand that gap, you can start making informed choices about the technology that you need to deliver that in the future. Secondly, think about your business processes, your business operations. Are you doing things in a quite long-winded way or with lots of manual intervention? Are there ways that other technologies out there that can help you speed up or become more effective at those kind of things? And I think thirdly, you got to make sure that you're shortlisting or selecting technologies that are within your means. Really look at shortlisting systems, and it'll probably be a mix of systems that you've got the budget for, that you can afford moving forward with.
It's interesting that you started with the customer, and I think very important to consider this not just as a technology decision, but as an enabler to deliver the experiences that your customers are demanding.
Yeah, I think a lot of the frustrations that brands have that are on outdated systems now are probably because they made the choice of technology without thinking about the customer. They had that kind of inside-out perspective, maybe some very hard-formed ideas based upon how things used to be, and they didn't really think about what the future held, and they find themselves locked into technology for a period of time that they can't escape until the license is up, and then they really feel the pain of not thinking about the customer at the point when they made that original selection.
So when you're going through that validation process, how do you do it? What are some of the things that you consider?
Well, we have a framework which we use here at Candyspace, experience design framework, which really starts by understanding more about the brand, what the brand principles are going to be, how we bring that to life for the customer, and then making sure we understand the customer, because customer personas change over time. New generations of customers move into our orbit, and we have to meet those new expectations along with kind of satisfying the expectations of the customers that we want to remain to keep with us and stay loyal with us. So lots of insight focused work with your customer types, and also looking at your data, trying to look for opportunities to improve things or for new ideas or range improvements, things like that from within the data set. Those are the normal starting points before you go on to then thinking about how you bring that to life through the design.
Are you able to share any examples of where you've used that framework to embark on a replatforming, and what were the impacts that you were able to create as a result of that?
Well, we use that framework in every project that we do. It's really important. It's the only way that I feel that we can stand behind our recommendations and to give the customers, our clients, the confidence that we're going to be successful. I think one of the projects that I'm particularly fond of is the work that we did for Planet Organic, and it's going back a few years, but during the pandemic, it was really disruptive for them, more so than perhaps any other grocery, because they're a small business. They only had 11 stores within London, and when they were asked to close the doors to the customers, it was really make or break for them. How can they continue to trade and continue to operate as a business through that really tricky period? And what they found was everyone, of course, like we all did, we went online to try and find our groceries and our products and like battle for delivery slots and things like that. And none of that functionality existed for Planet Organic. They had a very immature website. It was built on a platform that wasn't really suitable for the products that they were ranging, and it couldn't handle e-commerce at scale. So every time the site got under any particular load from customers looking for just even the basics like bread, milk and eggs and things like that, the site was falling over. So the doors came down on the shop, and also the website was unreliably unstable and unreliable. So we helped them in a period of 90 days to replatform away from that legacy non-kind of industry specific platform onto something that was a lot more focused on the customer. So we implemented new buying journeys, new checkout experiences. We helped them range for the first time fresh produce to be delivered nationwide, so they can get their products out to all their customers wherever they were within the UK. And we also helped them with their order management process, because they had a huge demand coming through and no distribution centre. They were fulfilling all of this stuff out of their local stores. So we helped them build some order management technology and systems that enabled them to meet that demand in a timely fashion, keep their customers kind of serviced with the produce that they were ordering, and ultimately keep the business going for that really, really tricky period of time. And I think the key thing that really jumps out to me is like how we can say why that was successful. They'd had, when Black Friday came round a few months after we launched the website that year, on just that first Black Friday kind of sale day, Planet Organic did more business than they did on their previous 3 Black Fridays combined.
That's amazing. That's such a success story. And yeah, and I imagine Planet Organic were not the only business during the pandemic rapidly trying to upweight their e-commerce capabilities.
No, and that period actually was really good for e-commerce as a whole, because we had this kind of concentrated period of 2 years or so where actually people realised that they'd been holding on or holding off on actually doing things like customer collection, click to collect, things like that. And the need for that become really, really pertinent during the pandemic, because that curbside kind of pickup was key for all traders, all retail businesses. So we saw people running towards things which perhaps they would have deprioritised or done at a later date, and it helped kind of take the industry onto the next stage of like what kind of good looks like, what customers expect as standard, rather than just like the extra features and benefits that were perhaps the preserve of the likes of John Lewis before that.
The word replatforming often strikes fear into the hearts of stakeholders. It can be perceived as complex or risky or expensive. It doesn't have to be that way, right? What are the myths around that?
Yeah, I think people feel that way because perhaps they're on their 2nd or 3rd iteration of their platform, and they remember some quite painful experiences of having to move from old generation technology onto new generation. And we're now at the stage where actually people are looking at technology and thinking, how many more times do I have to do this? Can I make decisions now that means that I don't have to do this in a wholesale way in the future? But in terms of the myths, I think it's really important to face into, if you've got an established technology that's been in place for a number of years, you've invested heavily in it in the very beginning to build it, and you continue to invest in it heavily over the subsequent years, you're going to have to recreate those experiences to some degree on your new platform. That's going to require investment. So thinking that it's going to be quick or easy to do when you spent 5 years on it in the first instance, it's not going to happen overnight when you come to replatforming. But the way that you can help deal with that is actually thinking about what is it that we actually need out of the current platform to move forward with. Are the things that we built 3 or 4 years ago still relevant for our customers today, or actually are our customers telling us that they want something different, and we should actually invest our time and energy in building that new thing out? And some of those features or experiences or journeys that we built are actually perhaps less pertinent or relevant as they used to be, and we can actually disregard those and make it a little bit easier on ourselves by focusing on what our customers really want.
So it goes back to the validation you spoke about earlier, just making sure that the business is crystal clear what value it's going to deliver for the customers and what value it delivers back to the business.
Yeah, I think particularly in e-commerce, a lot of brands think that my MVP is everything I've currently got plus a bit more. And then they get a bit of a shock when it comes to kind of like the length of time it's going to take to deliver that, or the cost associated with doing it. So yeah, going back and validating it and being really clear with the business, saying, well, this is what our MVP really looks like. These are the essential things, and this is why it's important to us, and this is the value it's going to unlock. I think, yeah, it really does go back to that original kind of like foundation principle.
Makes sense. If you had to name the top 3 things that a business should look for when selecting the right e-commerce platform, what would those 3 things be?
3 things. I might struggle to keep it to 3. I think I've got 4 or 5 that I could probably rattle off. Okay, so I think the first thing I would say is you've got to look for a platform that in this day and age is natively built to connect to other systems. Gone as the concept of having a one-size-fits-all kind of beast of technology that does everything. We've got to be moving and sharing data around systems. So you want to choose technology that's natively kind of connectable with other systems. I think secondly, you've got to make sure that you're shortlisting and being realistic about the license models that you can afford as an organization over 3 years. Look at the 3-year picture, the overall total cost of ownership, both of the technology licensing, but also of the support model and what it's going to cost to kind of keep the lights on over that 3-year period. Thirdly, I'd say make sure that you're selecting a partner that has got a believable roadmap, and judge them on their past experience there. Have they consistently brought to market all of the things over a 3 or 4 year period that they told their customers that they were going to do? And then I think, probably one of the most really important factors actually is try and select systems that deliver the features and the capabilities that you need out of the box as much as possible with minimum customization. I think that will get you a long way in success for your project.
There you go. I asked for 3, you gave me 4. Over-delivering, as always, is the Candyspace way. And final question, Tim. What are the top 3 things, you can give me 4 if you want, that a business should consider when thinking about the right agency partner to help them replatform?
Okay. First, I'd just say I think it's really important to find an agency before you select a technology. I think you want to find a partner that's going to work with you through that whole process from the very beginning. It's nothing worse than falling in love with an agency and then finding out a bit further down the road that they can't work with the technology that you've pre-selected. So I think that's an important point to bring up front. In terms of the top 3 things to look for, I think somebody that's got demonstrable success in implementing the types of project that you're looking to deliver. And with that, I think it comes down to also selecting the right type of agency. So are you looking for just a technical outfit, just a systems integrator, or are you looking for an agency that's actually got a much more kind of customer holistic viewpoint and can help you understand the needs of the customer, bring that to life through the design phase, but then also implement it and do the technology stuff. So more of an experience-led agency rather than a technology or brand-led agency. And then I think finally, spend time with partners before you make the selection and try and work out who's going to be a good long-term partner for you, not just a supplier that's going to deliver the project and then run away at the end of it all. I think the best partners are the ones that will start at the very beginning with you, define the strategy, work with you to understand your customers, the change that's required from a business perspective, help you go through that design process and then bring it to life through implementation. And then I think what's really important is having someone that can keep that knowledge retained within the agency and stay with you over the next kind of 2, 3, 4 years to help you evolve the platform that you've built. Because going live on day one is really just the start of the journey. You're going to learn new things day in, day out, and you want to have your best minds and all that experience at hand to help improve and continue to optimize what you've built already.
Hear, hear. What a lovely way to end. Tim, thanks so much. That was really insightful. Great to talk to you about e-commerce and replatforming. Thanks for your time.
No problem at all.